Welcome to Four Horsemen O'Clock. I'm Diego.
And I'm Jeremy.
How's it going, guys? Oh, man. I feel like we're late. Wait a minute. Something's off.
My special guest is running a little bit late. So, Diego, how are you doing today?
I lied. I am a guest on the show now.
Eric should be here soon because he has some news he wants to share with everybody.
Yeah. Eric has news for all of us. Nobody
for
here.
all of us.
Eric has news.
Eric has
Eric's news.
Nobody,
we don't know what it is.
Nobody knows what it is. Only Eric does.
Only Eric. Hopefully he's not on the way here watching. He's just going to turn around and
Go home. No, don't give him ideas.
Screw those guys. No, everybody, thank you very much for joining me this evening on Mythic Conversations, joining us on Mythic Conversations. I was away last week on vacation, very nice vacation. Went to Key West for a few days.
Oh.
Yep, interesting
Sunshine
place.
State.
Never been. It's like the lowest. I didn't realize that it's the southernmost point of the U.S.
Really?
Yeah. They actually have like a big like buoy there that you can go and stand in line and take a picture with it.
It's more south than Miami?
Yeah, 3 hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. It's like if you look at a map of Florida, it's the Florida Keys.
Yeah.
So it's like
Well,
all the way down. Yeah, it's fun. But it was cool. I mean, it was nice. It was
cool.
really, really sunny. It was like 85 degrees, nice little breeze off the water. So
now I got to ask
a
you,
couple nice days.
did you find any toy stores while you were down there and check them out?
There were no toy stores so Key West is not like a toy store vibe.
Mm-hmm.
It's more a vibe of like very offensive, poor taste t-shirts and like shot glasses with like breasts on them and chickens.
And chickens.
There's wild chickens running around everywhere in Key West.
Huh.
They do a fantasy fest. It's like a Mardi Gras.
Just everywhere. And my wife loves chicken. So like I was worried that someone was gonna like kick a chicken. Because she would literally bite their face if she saw someone hurt a chicken.
You have definitely told us about the love for chickens in your house. Like not to eat as a living entity.
As pets. They're our pets.
Family members.
Yes.
But not only does no one hurt the chickens, they're actually protected down there. Like if you hurt a chicken, it's like it's a multi-$1,000 fine.
Wow!
If you kill a chicken down there, it's jail time.
Wow!
Yeah, they're like some of the places that we were hanging out. We would be having a drink, and we'd see chickens come up to like where like the host or hostess has got their little podium to seat people, and you'd see them like open up the podium, go inside and take like seed and throw it down for the chickens. So like they very much love their Key West chickens.
That's cool.
Yeah. So a lot of the tchotchkes and t-shirts and stuff, it's either like partying or chickens.
All right. Well,
it was interesting place.
Do they have any like seashells with googly eyes glued on them? That kind of stuff.
So one of the things down there is conch shells. So they sell conch shells everywhere. But what you quickly find out is it's illegal to pull conchs out of the sea over there. So all of like every place you go has conch chowder or conch fritters. A lot of the like souvenir stores have conch shells. None of them are from Key West. All the conch food, all of the conch shells, they're all from like Bermuda and Jamaica.
Well, you get around it somehow.
I just said Bermuda, Jamaica. I set somebody up to sing that song. And nobody did it.
Yeah. Well, who I want to take you?
Not joining.
Key West chicken figura obscura confirmed.
Colonel Sanders.
They figured it out.
All right, so we talked a little bit this afternoon about the mystery box sale. One thing that I think would be interesting is we talked last week when you, Eric, and myself, when we revealed this, we had mentioned that the chase figures are some warehouse finds, and then we did a number of reissue figures. So we actually did 14 reissue figures. We shared the post of what those reissue figures are the other day. One of the interesting things about that is I had mentioned that we had decided to do that prior to the idea of mystery boxes. We didn't say, hey, let's make these reissue figures for mystery boxes. We did them as part of the 10-year anniversary to bring to live shows. Some people were asking how we selected those. So it's interesting. What we did when we looked at that was we tried to find figures that were desirable. So figures that we thought people would want. They were in short supply. We saw them on the secondary market starting to get a little more attainable. But one of the things that Chris told us is that we had to have figures that weren't super complex. So basically, if you notice in those reissues, none of the figures have like fully painted faces. There are no like humans. Okay. So even like a figure like Sir Bromden, which is one of the warehouse finds, that was a figure that Chris said no, because it's too complex for the paint applications. And the reason he had said that was we had to like squeeze the production of this between other projects. It ended up getting produced later than we even expected. We thought we were going to get this at the end of last year. So the very first shows this year, we could start bringing them out. In reality, they just arrived shortly before we kicked off this blind box sale. So that's one of the reasons, like one of the criteria we had for who gets selected in that wave or that reissue. But additionally, one of the things we wanted to do, and Eric mentioned this on the show last week with us, but I think it flew under the radar, is the production run on these reissues was small enough that it wouldn't eliminate any of them from potentially getting a version 2. And version 2s are something we're going to talk about more on the show tonight.
Version 2s, you say?
Version 2s.
Oh, well, I think that, I would love to be the expert on version 2s, but I'm not.
You're not?
No, but I think there's somebody who is. And you know what? I think they should come in right now and tell us all about it.
Eric.
Hello.
Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
My pleasure.
So we just started the conversation. We're talking, the title that we put out today was Reissue Figures, Version 2s, and the Future of All-Stars. So we're being very clear right up front that that's what we're talking about. And I think it's a good topic, and it's a timely topic, because a lot of people have been asking about All-Stars. We did this blind box sale, these mystery boxes. We included these reissue figures that I was just talking about. Some very cool figures in there. Some figures, I mean, there's actually a character like Brother Mandibulus, Calavius. Those are two characters that actually have some importance. Brother Mandibulus is one of the children of Necronominus. Calavius, from the writing of the book and stuff, there's actually some cool scenes with Calavius in them. So those are two figures that down the road could possibly get version 2s. What I was just saying was this reissue run, it doesn't eliminate any of those from potentially being in consideration for that, correct?
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of the we're in such a different place these days, that we've been around long enough and doing this line long enough where we can even be considering reissues or version 2s or anything like that. So yeah, now we're in this position where we have to make like a lot of decisions based upon future plans, you know, we take retailers into consideration. You know, things are just operating on more levels than they used to be. And so yeah, like when we're doing something like these reissues, it's, you know, of course there's always what's a cool reissue, what would be fun for fans to get, and where, you know, what's a figure that people have missed out on. But then we also have to consider, like you said, if there's possibility of what's the 2.0 figure, which has now become, you know, a semi-regular part of what we're doing. You know, we have to decide whether or not that move one is going to affect plans down the road. And that was, exactly. I mean, by keeping these runs small, it's enough to get it out there. It's fun for people. There's some excitement around it, but at the same time, if we put out a full run of one of these characters that we might want to do a version 2 of later, then it's almost you're killing your own release later down.
And we've been very careful. I mean, speaking of version 2s, it's been very clear that over the last few years, when it comes to, like, say, All-Stars voting, there are some important characters. There are some characters that people have very much wanted reissued. Otho. Okay. I mean, he's the easiest one to talk about. He's become almost, a legend, Otho. The reason Otho has not been included in All-Star votes, the reason Urzak has not been included, those are characters that have some importance in the story. So there was a point early on in All-Stars, by probably All-Stars 4, I would say 3 or 4, where characters that had potential for that version 2 treatment, they got taken off the list, off the possible voting for All-Stars consideration. Because a lot of people forget All-Stars 2, which was like, that was the Wild West of All-Star voting. Every character was included in that potential vote. It was totally open that every character was available, and it changed from All-Stars 3 on. So your point is well taken that when we think about reissues, including All-Star votes, characters that we want to hold back because we want to do something different with them, that actually plays an important role.
For sure. Absolutely.
So with that said, one thing I want to show here is I have slides to show. So let me get this queued up here. And I'm not really positive. Hold on a second.
I don't even know what all these are going to be.
Yeah, you don't. And it's hard for me to try to do both of these at once is always challenging. I think I'm just going to have to share it like this and not through. I think this is going to have to be the way we do it tonight with my one screen. Okay.
I ran into that issue at 1 o'clock.
I know it's acting weird on me. So this slide here,
Diego's fault is what you're saying.
It is. So this slide here, I think, is interesting because what we're actually looking at is this is, and I can just go forward. Here we go. This is every figure that we've actually reissued thus far.
Wow.
Yeah, it's when you actually break it down like that, and there's a couple on here that are a little questionable. I put Gorgo 2 on here. I didn't put Attila 2 because Attila's on here because we actually did re-release Attila, right? You could argue that Gorgo 2 is not really a reissue, it's a version 2, but I always I look at like Baron Voligar 1 and 2 or Artemis 1 and 2, and those are two different looks, like different. For Artemis, it's her coronation attire versus kind of her adventuring attire.
Right.
Gorgo, that is just an update of Gorgo and his armor, right?
Yes, correct.
So to me, it kind of fits what I was going for here. I also put Balius in there because, we sneakily reissued Balius under the Deacon figure if you pull off the soft goods. But if you look at everything we have here, even, Cavern Dwarf 2 and Gold Knight, this is everything we've actually reissued. So when you break it down, I looked at by wave. Mythic Legions 1 was 34 figures. 26 of those have been either reissued or that, version 2 for like Gorgo and Gold Knight.
That's a good number there.
It's quite a few.
Yeah.
It's definitely quite a few. I mean, 1.5 of those 6 figures, 5 have been reissued. The one that hasn't is Unkin, the PowerCon figure that we've said those are one and done. We're not going to reissue those. So for all purposes, we've reissued that entire wave. Covenant of Shadow, 7 of the 8 figures have been reissued. So you break it down. I did this up to Coliseum because after Coliseum, I feel like Coliseum was kind of that like tipping point where the stuff after that started getting a little more accessible. So of those figures, it's 112 figures in those handful of waves, 7 waves. 56 of those 112 have been reissued.
Jeremy, your numbers are even impressing me.
That was my goal.
Even looking at those too, like the fact that those, like the 2 earliest waves or the 3 earliest waves, that the percentages are that high is, the fact that we've gone back that much into the early waves like that, like Advent, that was a step up in production and accessibility and awareness. So to see it drop a little bit there is not surprising, but those early ones, it's pretty good.
It's certainly a lot of stuff. And this is all part of what we're talking about tonight. Because to me, this is incredibly impressive. To see any toy line, any collectible toy line that has done what we've done to reissue the amount. And I mean, I look back, and this was obviously before I was involved with the studio the way I am now, but you were obviously part of those discussions for All Stars 1. It was very much an opportunity to get these figures into more fans' hands. Fans who either had skipped on certain characters who had fallen under the radar. All Stars 1 was very much a way to meet that fan demand. And it's been like that ever since. So much to the point, going back to those early fantastic exclusive voting processes, bringing the voting aspect into All Stars that started in All Stars 2, that's become an important part of the line, allowing the fan base to help drive certain products that are being sold.
Yeah.
However, that's become a bit more of a challenge these days. And you are someone who I would say, knowing you and talking to you about this, over the past few years, it's become harder and harder for us to keep the All-Stars campaign going the way it's been initially done. We saw that with All-Stars 5. That was the first year that we did the All-Stars Plus, where we added all of those new figures. And that, at the time, was such a great thing because it kind of breathed a new life into All-Stars. I remember how excited people were for those newer figures. Remember that?
Yeah. Yep.
Same thing with this past All-Star 6. All-Star 6 being a continuation of Necronominus, very much had people excited for what was going to be coming for those new figures. Checking out the comments here, seeing what people are talking about. Building up to an Otho 2.0. But that is one of the challenges with All-Stars. So look at these 2 figures from All-Star 6. Balthar Shadowhorn. Balthar was within a few votes of winning the All-Stars vote for All-Star 6. Sir Enoch is one of the newer figures that we added to that same wave. Now, both of these figures are standard figures. So $37 at pre-order. At retail, these are $50 figures. You look at the loadouts for those 2 figures, right? When we first started doing Mythic Legions, this is what a loadout looked like. Removable shoulder armor, 1 belt, 3 weapons. Pretty much every figure had that kind of loadout. Because of the success of the line and the support of the fan base and everything, we've been able to greatly expand the value that's included in these figures. So, I mean, I can remember buying figures in that first wave, and I never felt like I wasn't getting value for my money. I felt like, wow, these are worth more than what I'm paying. we've raised that bar with these new figures. And to me, that is one of the challenges that we've both talked about with All-Stars these last few years is there's a real sense that we want to put out the best possible figures. But because of the way All-Stars voting works, people always vote for some of the oldest, rarest, hardest to find figures. But because they're some of the oldest figures, they use the most outdated parts. And I hate to say outdated because it sounds negative, but they're parts that have been around for 10 years.
Right.
You know, that's the reality is they're still awesome parts. They're awesome figures, but we have newer parts and newer figures. And I know that's one of the challenges you've always had with All-Stars. And the exact phrase you've said before that I'd love you to expand on is All-Stars reissues don't bring anything new into the line.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what, as a studio and as a creator, we want to see progression.
Mm-hmm.
You want to see the figures getting better. You want to, now the narrative is, it's always been a part of it. It's even a bigger part now. So you want to move the story along at the same time. It's not even like that's a negative thing with All-Stars. It's just that it's in a different category, almost. Like one, you're improving the figures, you're adding new characters, you're building the world out. The other one is, you're servicing the fan base. You're filling requests essentially, which there's value to both.
Absolutely.
But that's what like a lot of it with the restructuring the past two All-Stars has been about, like, how do we find some balance here? How do we how do we get away with doing both at the same time?
Yeah. And that's one of the things we're seeing. The image I have on screen right now to compare, because I just compared Bothar to Sir Enoch. So two very different kinds of figures. I mean, you could argue that, you chose a dwarf, that they're half as much figure. In this case, I'm doing two skeletons. Klavian, another All-Star 6 winner, the figure that won All-Star 6, comparing that to another figure in that wave, Thrasis, the First Risen. Both Necronominus figures, both skeletons. But again, you look at the soft goods that you get with the Thrasis, things that we weren't doing. I mean, soft goods in the first wave consisted of just that little fabric cape.
Yeah. With stamped out piece of fabric with two holes in it.
Yep. So you look at Thrasis, he's got the fully wired cape with the fur. He's got the tunic with the tears in it, all weathered. A lot more going on there. And then you look at the loadouts. I love the fact that they both come with that faction shield, but you look at that new fully sculptural faction shield versus what you have in Klavian. And again, these are both standard figures. This is kind of what we're looking at here, because one of the challenges that I think we have with All-Stars is what I just said. We want to provide the best possible figures, not only to the fan base, but to retailers as well. The stuff with the reissues that we just did for Mysteries of Mythos, I was listening to the Euro Legions podcast, and one of the things that they had mentioned, because they're in Europe and they're longtime collectors. So the Mysteries of Mythos sale, that's like two strikes right there. They can't take advantage of the flat rate shipping. And because they have almost everything, it's less likely they need something from those pulls. They were talking about the fact, and they said, I would have loved it if they would have made these reissue figures available to retailers. And that's an interesting comment, because I'm sure you've seen over the years, people say comments like, if they just reissued the entire first wave, they would be printing money. Have you see comments like that?
I don't know if I have specifically, but it doesn't. I mean, it sounds right. Though.
Yeah, there's a perception, because
I've said that.
Every day, Bill walks in, he goes, "Printing money, printing money."
because I think what the impression is when you look at online sales, like secondary market, like eBay, and you see Urzok selling for $150, $200 and Otho selling for $400 or whatever, there's an impression of like, oh my goodness, if they reissued all these figures, they would sell so many of them. I remember years ago, Cornboy coming on interviews and saying that's never the case, that new items always outsell existing items. And we're seeing that, back to that comment that I wish that they could have made all these reissues available just through the retailers. As the person that deals with the retailers, it's interesting because you know who doesn't want a lot of reissues at the retailers? The retailers. The retailers have told us, both through feedback and through just sales, that the older reissue figures don't sell as well as the newer items. And nothing we've done is solely based on sales. We make decisions with this line, what we think is cool, what we hear from the fans they would want, but this is also a business. We would be silly if we didn't look at sales numbers and consider that as part of what we're doing. So that's definitely another aspect of considering how we go forward with stuff like reissue figures.
Well, I mean, you have to look at the health of the line in general. Yeah. Like even if you were printing money, I suspect that the more, if that was the strategy all of a sudden was to try to make, a buck strictly for the sake of making a buck on reissuing those figures, I think it's a very short-term strategy.
Yes.
A cash grab. So yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know, like everything that we've done has been from, the creative first, and just, it just has to be cool. Like that's the simple barometer for this stuff. We have to like it.
Yep.
And that's, that's treated us well, and that's work that, that's helped create stuff that people have enjoyed. So, that's the way we stick with it.
And that's what's worked, involving the community, listening to the community.
For sure.
None of that stuff's ever going to change. But this being 2014, sorry, I had a little moment there. This being the 10-year anniversary of Mythic Legions and the 25th anniversary of Four Horsemen Studios, we've long said that this is the year where we're trying new things, we're shaking things up, doing these reissues to get a lot of these figures out there, to do it in the way that we're doing it, both through mystery boxes, and eventually they'll start showing up at some live events. We are also making some changes to the All-Stars program. And I'm not going to make you say,
I'll say it. But I love that this is now built up in a way where people are expecting like a kick-ass reveal.
I know.
Like they're talking about dopamine hits and all this stuff.
It's going to be big. I'm going to admit this has gotten away from me. Like I'm trying to dance around what we're saying because I don't want to make anyone mad.
You know what?
I don't want people to send me mad
that's why
text
you brought me on.
I'll take
to
the
soften
burden
the
if you
blow.
want. I'll take the burden.
I don't want people to send me mad text messages. Don't send me mad text messages.
Don't send him any text.
Greg's
messages.
doing it now.
Greg is right off camera.
Greg's already texting him messages.
He will be taking all complaints.
Yes.
Yes.
The ogre white knight.
He is an ogre white knight.
He is an ogre scale white knight.
So I guess the big reveal is that we are not doing All Stars this year, and it has been with heavy consideration, but like Jeremy said, this is the anniversary year. We're looking to shake things up a little bit. The reissues were a way to get old product out there, but there's things that are happening in the future that combined with, running out of applicable characters and all that kind of stuff, it doesn't make sense right now. And this is not, just to be clear, this doesn't mean this is an end to All Stars forever. It's not, not canceled or anything like that. Our release structure and some of the things that we're revealing this year are different than we've done in the past. Largely because of the anniversary, largely because of where we are in Mythic Legions from not only the anniversary year, but also from a storytelling standpoint. And honestly, like, we like to keep things fresh and interesting and a little unpredictable. And I think from, if you look at All Stars, I think there's like two major parts to why people enjoy All Stars. One is it's the reissue aspect. They can get figures that they missed or that they wanted to get a second one. But then the other aspect of it is the participation angle. It's the community part of it. That it's the rallying around a character and the campaign posters and all that kind of stuff. And our, like, the production part of our company, going back to its roots, goes all the way back to Fantastic Exclusive. And so this company was very much built on that fan voting, fan interaction, community building. And so we're also looking at ways where we can integrate that into the experience and the lines in different ways, where that fun communal aspect is still there, but we're gonna hit it from some different directions.
Now, I've seen a number of comments, because we knew there was going to be mixed reactions to this. Like, we know that there are people that love All Stars, not only from the participation standpoint, but the ability to get access to those older figures to fill holes in the collection. That's always been welcomed. And no one that I can think of in the toy, world has done it to the extent we've done it.
50%.
50%. The flip side, we are making collectible toys, and whether something sells online for $50 or $550, that doesn't benefit this company directly. Like, we don't make more money when stuff goes up in price, but we're toy collectors ourselves. We do understand, especially if you chased an older figure and you paid a little bit more for it and then it gets reissued. Yeah, we absolutely understand that there's a point where you're like, oh, I just paid $100 for that and it made it into All Stars. So there's two sides to that we've always considered. When we did All Stars releases, we had to consider that other side of it as well. But one of the things this does, because again, back to that point of those oldest figures winning the All-Star votes and us putting out an older figure that doesn't have the newer parts, doesn't have the pack out, that's always something where, okay, it's taking a slot up in a wave that something else might go in. What I'm super excited about for this opening up is version 2 figures. So now that we've started doing these version 2s, which are, characters that are an important part of the wave. You see Sir Gideon Heaven's brand here doing refreshes of those important name figures with new parts and, the soft goods and everything that we're putting into it now. That for me is super exciting. Moving away from All Stars reissues actually allows us to consider doing version 2s for maybe some not as important characters. Right. Because so far we've only seen version 2s for Sir Gideon we have here. In the most recent wave, we got Atlas the Conqueror and Scapular, all important named characters. Some of these other figures that may have been in All-Stars re-release, because the important named characters weren't involved in All-Stars voting. So having these version 2 figures possible that are not super named characters, to me, that I think fits a really cool whole as well, a really neat as well. Because if you want one of those characters for your collection, it depends if you're just looking to get the original, to say I have the original in my collection, or if you're like, I want that character on my shelf. I'd love a better representation of that character.
Yeah.
Version 2s being able to take the place of All-Stars in some respects, that I think is very exciting possibilities.
It's extremely exciting for me. I mean, reissues, we just basically tell the factory, make a reissue. Here there's something, something new to create, and it gives us the ability to go back and rethink the character, connect it to the lore in a closer way.
Yep.
Utilize the upgrades that we have in both the tooling and the addition of the CJ, some soft goods on it now. Just the experience that we've acquired since those early pieces. I mean, I'm to the point already where like there's version 2s that I would like to do version 2s of.
Yeah.
Like just like we've upgraded parts and things so rapidly that like even there's some aspects of some of the version 2s I could easily see being improved already.
Wait, so that means version 3
or a 2.2? I don't know. There's
2.15.
so many naming conventions that we could play with.
I mean, even like we were talking the other day, looking at old figures that are in this mystery box sale. There were so many figures you pointed out. You're like, I'd like to do a version 2 of this. I'd like to do a version 2 of this.
I was telling Jeremy that I was watching the Legion's ladies when they were ranking all the female figures, and they just like they're pulling them up, and I'm just like, oh man, that would make a good 2.0, and then the next one would come up, that would make a good 2.0. So like, I mean, I think like every single figure we've done could benefit from a 2.0 at this point.
Absolutely.
So there's something, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming this is with a lot of artists and creators and stuff, but like it's always fun to like go back and revisit work that you've done in the past, especially when it's like character stuff and you get to go back and do a redesign. I mean, you see it in comics all the time where like,
Star Wars movies,
where you go back and get to take another stab at something you've done in the past. So it's, of course it applies here as well, because, there's an attachment to those characters, so that there's already a built-in connection there when you go into it. You're not building from the ground up. You're just, hopefully improving it.
I mean, look at the 3 figures that made All-Stars for All-Star 6. All-Star 6 is the All-Stars wave that has yet to ship. So we've got, Gorthok, Clavian, Bothar, and actually 4 figures because Sir Ignatius was the winner there as well. All 4 of those figures, I can imagine a version 2 version of those characters with parts we currently have that would make them significantly cooler than that first pass. And again, it's so weird when you talk about this because you don't want to talk down about the original figures, because the original figures I still think are great. And I actually think a lot of the original figures have a ton of charm to them.
Absolutely.
But I also, from a toy standpoint, love the new stuff and want to get more of that out there.
It's I mean, it's always, I guess, I don't know, the trap that you could set for yourself is that, you see whether it's musicians or movie makers or, any type of creative endeavor where there's, some people want to like tinker like too heavily, or redo their own song, and then largely the second version is considered worse than the first, or ruining the legacy, whatever. So I mean, it's something to always be like kind of cognizant of as well when you're going back, and these are beloved figures at this point, and they're part of the history of the line. So it's definitely not a taking a shot at those. It's just it's about like what could you do with it now?
I mean, something as simple as the night body. So I have this picture here. This is a figure. This is the deluxe night builder kit. I think I've got that terminology right. This is a figure that has been a reissue, has been requested of this so many times. It's actually the only figure from Covenant of Shadow that hasn't been reissued. When I looked at that list, there were 7 of the 8 figures from Covenant. This is the only one that hasn't been. When we dropped the Barbarian from Wave 1 in Reinforcements 1, a lot of people thought that, okay, they're gonna drop this figure in version 2. And we've talked about doing this figure. We talked about putting this figure in Reinforcements 2. And the reason we didn't is because we felt that if we reissued this figure, it would be a letdown. Because people have seen the Valiant Knight. They know that the Necronominous wave is coming. They've seen that knight with the new parse and the added range of motion. So to release a figure, I mean, not only does this have all the old body, the weapons loadout in this is literally like Series 1 weapons. It doesn't even have like the halberd and the sword with the scabbard. It's the absolute earliest parts from the line.
That's true.
It was a wonderful set at the time, but things have evolved to the point where there's so much more in the library that this was a decision to really say, does it make sense to reissue that, knowing that a bunch of people are going to get it and it's going to feel like, yeah, this is cool, but there's other parts that would have been maybe even cooler on this.
For sure. By the way, you are killing these guys tonight. They're still thinking this is leading up to another reveal.
Dude, we're not revealing anything. Like
the reveal has happened.
The reveal was 30 minutes of dancing around me not wanting to tell you there's no All-Stars wave this year.
What? No All-Stars wave?
What?
That was the reveal.
Forever?
There's, I mean, just to be, clear though, there's lots of good stuff coming up.
Yeah.
So in the future, so like, there won't be any lack of reveals in the upcoming months.
You're not getting a reveal tonight. Don't worry. There's going to be a short time from now that you're going to say, please stop with the reveals. My wallet is sobbing.
Yeah, sobbing wallets.
There you go. You turned it around.
But I think that is a good point, is disappointment that there won't be an all-star vote this year. There won't be all-stars reissues in the way we've done in the past. Totally understandable. And to your point, we're not saying all-stars is dead. We're never going back to it. Anything, we evaluate stuff constantly to see what makes sense for that particular period of time.
Well, think about it this way. I mean, period of time is a good word because, it doesn't feel like it's been 10 years that we've been on this line. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago that Otho or Atlas, that still almost seems like it's a new figure. But here we are 10 years later, and that's, people are talking about that for an all-star. So, the day is going to come up where Scapular 2 and Atlas 2 are the old figures now, and then that could get the all-star treatment. So I mean, it's almost like we got to take a pause just to rebuild, the stable of parts that we can reissue. Because there's also, I mean, if you're being real, like there's I mean, we're not going to reissue a Ragna Stormforger. Like, it was not a popular figure.
Right to Ragna.
I know. There's the Ragna fans out there are gonna revolt on me.
You know,
but
Ragna is your gold skeleton because it's well publicized that I don't like the gold skeleton. That's my least favorite. I think Ragna is your gold skeleton.
You might be right. And I mean, it's one of those things like when we released Ragna, like I felt fine about Ragna, and then but then nobody else felt fine about it, and then so like that's now kind of rubbed off onto me. I don't. It's not so much that I dislike the figure, but it is just it's just the perfect example of when you think all right, this you got one here, and then you're told firmly no.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's an easy one to point out that that's one that the sales back up what I'm saying here. It just was not a hot seller, and so it's one that would be hard to justify putting into an All-Stars. Now, on the other there are ones like we've already reissued this figure, but Ignatius was a low seller early on. But people got it in hand, and Ignatius became a very desired figure, and so it wasn't just
the time.
People will see the luster in that armor.
There were some comments because Ragna does get a fair amount of hate in the community, but she also gets a lot of people that are like, yeah, but her armor paint applications are gorgeous, which they are. The colors are really, really cool. Somebody pointed out earlier, and they actually said this on the most recent Mythic Enablers podcast, that she kind of makes a better halfling than a dwarf. And I think she's a little big for a halfling, but I do agree that maybe she's like a halfling.
She's a 3/4.
There you go. A 3/4.
75%.
I agree. I mean, that's what it is. I think when we, all the way back and like creating the parts for Advent.
Curtis says a reissue of Ragna would be like printing money. So that's one thing I will say to people is disappointment, totally understandable. Reserve judgment and your kind of anger at this on the Cabal until you see what we have planned instead. Because that's the whole thing is when we plan out the calendar year, I said earlier slots. There's only so many months in the year. There's only so many things that we can do. When we have this critical mass of things we want to try to get out, something has to give. Either we put out more than we are comfortable actually putting out, which nobody wins in that situation, or something has to give. This was genuinely an instance where we said, it doesn't make sense to do that this year with everything else we're doing. And yes, there's feedback from retailers, there's sales numbers, there's our desire to put out the best possible stuff. Those are all other reasons that go along with just trying to fit everything in to the allowable time we have. So wait and see what we have planned before you really say, whether or not this was a good or a bad decision in your eyes.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
What if we only ever did All-Stars?
Again,
just always
printing
no new
money.
Printing money.
So everyone's saying that it would be easy to reserve judgment if we revealed one figure. Guys, we don't have anything to reveal to you. There's no new figures anywhere in this entire studio. Nowhere.
Not a single one.
Not even one new figure is around in the studio here anywhere.
Yeah, nothing in here.
Nothing in this room. Here.
Matt Stein has asked, instead of making new figures, why not just go straight to printing money?
Well, we could.
There's a comment.
Mike. Yeah. Sure, he'd consider it.
Some Mythic dollars would be fun.
Mythic bucks.
I like it.
So I am trying to read the comments. There's a number of people in the chat tonight. The comments are coming in fast. I can't go back and get everything. It just wouldn't make a lot of sense right now. We are happy to answer questions. We'd love to answer questions about the stuff we're talking about. Clearly, there's only so much we can reveal. Legion's Con Day 2 hint. Someone asked that. I think I can give a hint on that. Sure. So Legion's Con Day 2, you already saw the Day 1 stuff. It was Mythic Legions. Day 2 is actually going to be Cosmic Legions. So, those are two equally important parts of what we are putting out. We want, it's not Mythic Legions Con, it's Legions Con. We're going to be revealing those very soon, not tonight, but very soon. Cosmic Legions will be what is on the docket for Day 2.
It's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good reveal that I can give. Let's see.
Should we tell them about Wild West Legions?
Don't even joke. Don't joke. He's joking, everybody. He's joking.
That's probably the when people talk about other. Cornboy did an interview recently, I believe, with Legion's Lounge, where he talked about other kinds of Legion's properties that have been discussed over the years. He didn't mention any. He just said that there have been other Legion's properties, but like Wild West Legions is the one that people always seem to go to.
Spaghetti Western Legions.
Spaghetti Western Legions, yes.
That's like Cosmic
Jalo Legions.
Mandalorian.
Going through the comments right now, seeing if there's anything I can actually.
I wouldn't mind a Roman Legion.
So Thomas is saying that Mal is hyped in the UK, that we just announced that it's a Cosmic Legions 2-pack reveal figure set. How's the coffee table book coming along? So we've got the 2 books. They're both coming along well. The first 10 years book that we revealed at MesquiCon, that's going to be the first one. That's coming along very, very well. Trevor is still hard at work shooting the remaining figures we have for that. Ishcon. So Ishcon is still a little ways away. We're still figuring out everything there, but we were just talking about that today. Yeah. That seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. I need to connect with Ish to get some specific details on timing and what's happening when, before I'm comfortable really talking deeper about that. Should we answer that? It gets asked a lot, but I feel like I don't know.
Yeah, I'd skip over it.
Okay.
No.
Nope, not answering you.
No, I want to know what question.
Wait, what?
It will be answered very soon.
It will be.
Yes, go back up.
Wild West Otho reveal. What do you say? Was it that one? Oh,
yeah, I just didn't see what it said.
Sometimes it stops with like working.
Oh, okay.
So we can actually talk about that. So one of the questions was larger types accessories for Mythic Legions, and they specifically said a throne. I don't know if we've ever said this, but that was one of the ideas that was actually considered for Rising Suns.
Yeah.
There was a point that we had when we were talking, because the not the accessory, the crates basically from Cosmic Legions were so popular. Like people, I remember we revealed that the crates got such a pop in the room that we were like, crates, like, wow, that went really well. Clearly we heard that people liked those diorama style accessories. So when we were talking about the Rising Suns wave, that was a thought.
I really wanted to do it, but that's what, like I don't even like I generally don't even like bring this stuff up because there's things that like I really want to do for some of these waves and they ultimately get cut either because the wave is getting too big or just running out of time, and like it's like then would just be potentially heartbreaking to share. So but yeah, I mean that was one. There was a specific idea that we had in mind for that wave, but that doesn't mean it's something we wouldn't revisit.
Yep.
And we've talked about before, like we're having a fun time adding the diorama type elements to Figura. The clock in particular just sets such a cool scene for that character. And the crates were a lot of fun. So I definitely want to incorporate more of that into the waves as we move forward. Just that it's that world building aspect that I don't know. I always go back to G.I. Joe, but like G.I. Joe was just like the fact that you had play sets,
Space shuttle,
aircraft
carrier,
and all the way down to like a
rocket launcher,
and like even like the little sets like where it's like the the tent with the cot, the tools and stuff, like the watchtower, like the little tiny packs with just like a couple piles of sandbags and a machine gun, like that sort of stuff's great. Like it's and I think like applied to these types of worlds, infinite possibilities and a lot of coolness there.
It's a deeper question. I'm starring a bunch of them so we can go back.
I saw Back in Time. That's
we're going to go back in time in a minute.
Back in Time. That's the second.
All right, so we can get through some of these questions. So Thomas is asking, has everyone confirmed for intern or there potentially be a second round? I do have a few people that have told me they cannot come. I have a few people that I'm still waiting for answers on. So there will definitely be at least a couple of people pulled that will be contacted for a second round. I want to do it all at once. So I'm waiting another week or so to get some final answers. So question for you, not holding you to anything, but they're asking if we're going to get another child sketchbook figure. Do you have, I'll rephrase that. Do you have other characters like Kanox that are in your early sketchbooks that are potential for future figures?
Yes.
Very cool.
I mean, anytime, I don't know, like anything that's got like a, meaning to it, then just, makes it a more passionate figure to work on. And since that figure went over well, I certainly don't see why we wouldn't go that way again.
He's actually a figure that does really well at shows. Like when people see him, because when I'm thinking of Toylanta, this is the most recent show I did. When we have everything open, he's a figure that a lot of newer people that don't know the line come up and see him and they're like, that's cool. That look, I mean, he's got a robotic leg and a big club, and it's a cool looking figure. So he reads really well when people come over and see him there with his presence.
That's cool.
He was my favorite from Cosmic 2 when it was first revealed.
Yeah.
I was like, that guy's awesome.
Will the Mythic Legions novel fiction book be available this year? I really, really want it to be. I really hope that we can solicit it this year. There's still a lot of work to be done on it, and time is ticking on this year, so fingers crossed. Do you know what figures will be at the toy show in Illinois on Sunday? So we do not announce which figures will be there in advance. This is a street team event being done through or in partnership with My Wife Is Going to Kill Me. So it is a little bit different than when we do a show certainly like Legions Con or PowerCon, where we bring just, a truckload of product. It'll be less product. It'll be more current product. It is, though, because My Wife Is Going to Kill Me, they also have some older stock of their own. There will probably be two different parts of the booth. There'll be the stuff that's at, traditional Horseman show prices that are from, our street team stock. And then there's stuff that he may have had in his collection that's selling. So those will be, higher prices, but it'll be a mix of stuff for sure. But I don't have any specifics on what it will be.
And I can honestly say I don't know.
You
So if you want to throw that to me,
will there be mystery boxes next year / will we consider it a success? So two-parter, we definitely consider it a success. I mean, today, seeing people posting in the Cabal their polls and, seeing people posting the surprise art they got from Jeff in there, definitely a success. Very cool. We love the buzz that it's created. Will we do it next year? Who knows? Definitely still too early to tell on that, what next year's plans are. But I can say that it has gone well enough that it's not an idea that we're like, well, that was a bad call.
Right.
Let's never do that again. Next year, who knows? In the future, definitely a possibility. Yeah. Can we confirm or deny that George is indeed having fun on his trip?
You cannot confirm nor deny.
I cannot. We are not there with George. I've seen a few pictures. He does look like he's having fun.
yeah, I see smiles.
He's
So-
pretty off-brand.
I mean, he did go to the Glios factory, so
He
I
did.
think he was happy when he was
I
there.
do think he
Nah.
went to the glass factory. I did notice that Chris wasn't in any of those photos with him,
That's why he's
happy.
so that could have played into that.
And they did send a video of both of them today, so we know Chris didn't
Yes.
kill him and is wearing his skin.
Yet.
Yeah.
Someone asking if I can do another reading from the storybook. I will make it a point to do that in the coming weeks. We do have some other things I want to talk about on the show in the coming weeks, but I will make it a point to do the storybook. I like this comment here. Hi guys, cheers from Brazil. I started the line this year, already 30 figures until now and waiting, or 30 figures in now and waiting for my 4 mystery boxes. I'm in love with the line.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. And I'm seeing a lot of new fans coming out of the woodwork, specifically with the mystery box sale, saying how excited they are for this opportunity. So that has been something that I'm really excited about, to have those newer fans have access to these figures and have the fun aspect of not knowing what you're getting.
Yeah.
I think that, look, there's a lot to be said for knowing what you're getting, but surprises are fun.
You
I
know,
bought what I wanted.
the mystery
Amazing.
box format was such a success. We're only selling product in
Oops,
mystery
all
box
mysteries.
format.
Someone asked
That was the
earlier.
reveal.
Someone asked earlier.
I wouldn't mind.
Any mistakes?
Well, someone asked earlier if we would consider
You can't
consider
make a
doing
mistake
mystery
if it's a
boxes
mystery.
at shows. Like if we would, and I don't think we'd want to do that. I mean, someone was asking earlier if we would consider doing mystery boxes at shows. I don't think so, because we have to pre-pack the darn things, and we'd have to be
Yeah.
carting a whole bunch of cardboard to shows just to hide what's in the mystery box.
Just
Yeah,
Christmas wrap every.
I mean,
I would say this, not necessarily this type of a mystery box, but there could be something that could be fun
Yeah.
to do at a show that is a blind box, sort of a setup. But
We could do this.
Idea.
If you come up and give us 75, or if that shows it'd be 80. If you come up and give us $80, we'll give you 2 random figures. We can totally do that. Just
Dealer's
we'll,
choice.
we'll
Dealer's
pick,
choice.
yeah, dealer's choice. We'll totally pick for you.
They put them in a black bag.
We can do that.
I mean, all our bags are black bags,
Yeah.
so you know what? We'll bag it so you don't know.
I mean,
and just hand it to you.
that's the thing. Like the show experience is, obviously so different from ordering something online. And like when we do shows, there's so much like community at the shows and like such a fun aspect to like, people making friends in line and all that kind of stuff. So like doing something point of purchase that's a little bit different, that adds a little just something extra to that experience of checking out and then going and opening it up.
Mm.
I mean, I could definitely see doing
Yeah,
something.
there's
like
some
that.
things that could work.
It would have to be, just have to be the right thing.
Yep.
Like, cause it's, the blind box thing can, go south pretty quickly too.
Well, there is all, and this is one of the things we talked about with doing the mystery boxes, is there is already a sense of mystery with shows to begin with, because the fact that we don't announce in advance what's going to be there. And for years, we have brought older figures that we have dwindling stock on. We've brought that to shows. So you will see people, the reason people hang out outside of shows for hours ahead of time is to be first in line at that table, so they get access to some of those older figures that will be there. At a show like PowerCon or at Legions Con, where the line literally doesn't stop all day.
Yeah.
We have made it a point, and the reason people will come in, buy stuff, get out of line, and then get back in line. We have seen people do this at Legions Con. It's because we're constantly putting out different stuff, and something that may not have been on the table at your first pass could be there on your second or the next day or something like that. So there is already an aspect. You don't get that surprise online. So we had talked about the mystery boxes in some way actually fills that I don't know what's going to be on the table aspect of going to the live shows as well.
Yeah. Well, that's like anytime where you can, make more out of the experience of buying a toy and opening it up, and you can make it into something bigger and better. That's, I don't know, that's a good thing to add to the mix. We're all of the age where we grew up with that excitement of walking into a Toys R Us and not knowing what you're going to see on the shelf. And granted, I mean, there's still brick and mortar out there, but for a lot of people, it's gone so much over to online sales that that anticipation and that kind of rush of it is not there. So that's one of the things I love about the shows is in putting out that product like that, is that you're at least like reclaiming a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
And I know some people might be worried that all the warehouse finds that we put on the sale, that's all there is. We still have a couple warehouse finds that were maybe enough to take to a show.
Yeah.
So future shows might still have some of those old gems show up randomly on the table.
Yep.
Yeah.
So here's the back in time comment. So if you could go back in time to when Legions was first being revealed or thought about, conceived, what would you do differently now that you have 10 years of experience? Anything come to mind?
Would have stuck with the 3 3/4 format.
I kept the Clios.
I mean, that's an interesting question, because it's an easy answer is nothing, because we've gotten
it's been successful.
Right.
So how do you say, I would do this different?
Right. It's worked out well. Like, if you go and start tampering with that, any of those one decisions could have turned it a different way. I mean, I would say, probably on our, like, within the studio, I mean, I think just being, like a little bit more open-minded to adopting ideas that will move the company forward sooner. I mean, even thinking back to like resisting digital sculpting for as long as we did, it would have been fantastic if this line was digital from the beginning. It took us a long time to kind of build up the retailer program. That's something maybe you would have gone back and look at. Certainly, it took us a long time to get to where we are with shipping. That, and a lot of that's learning along the way. Like, it's not. It seems on some levels like very simple, but it's such a complex operation. All the way from physically filling the orders to dealing with FedEx and the post office and shipping rates and all this stuff. Back early on, we were splitting our time between making the toys and shipping the toys. But again, we talk a lot around here, though. like if we would have tried to push things too fast, too quickly, we could have burnt out too soon. So I don't know. I probably would avoid tampering with it.
Soft goods.
But you know what? Early on, like I think if we were doing those soft goods and doing the low numbers we did, I don't know if we could, like the figure prices might have been higher, and then that would have been a restrictor for a lot of people. So I mean, but again, and even now, like doing going back to the beginning of the conversation, talking about doing 2.0s and stuff like that. I don't know, like
Now's a chance to do that,
right? Like it's yet without altering the course of history.
Yeah, I think every decision that's been done throughout the line has led to where it is. And, we've talked all the time about, that growth that's happened that at times feels fairly dramatic, but it's been very sustainable growth that's allowed the quality to remain consistent, the creativity to remain consistent, and the community to remain positive and feel like, rightfully so, that they're a part of what is being done here.
Yeah.
And that again, back to that point, community involvement has played a significant role directly and indirectly. All Stars is direct community involvement. That is us literally saying, here's some figures to vote on. Tell us what you want. And then we are going to reissue. We're going to remake those figures that you're voting. Indirect is, feedback we see, ideas that we see that people have that we're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, this flat rate shipping for, the box, hearing, we say all the time that, like, look, we don't control shipping. We weigh the stuff, put it in, and this is the calculation. But us trying something like this because we've heard the feedback that we wish there was a better option for shipping, that feedback's not going away, indirect or directly. And I'm actually excited with us not asking for All Stars, what creative thing we're going to come up with to involve that fan feedback. That type of stuff gets me excited. Okay, you're taking this away, and that sounds harsh. We're not taking anything away, but you're not doing this year. What are you doing instead? It opens up some cool opportunities.
mythical pops.
Dude, I would totally buy Mythic Pops. For the record,
I would too.
For the record, I'd be all over. Gorgo as a pop figure, I'd be all over that.
To me, that's like we know, like we've hit like the point of success if Funko comes knocking to the door and wants to turn our characters into pops. Like we've hit like a certain level.
Just do your own.
I mean, but what fun is that?
That's cool.
I mean, we've had fan engagement even with Intern for a Day for the sculpting classes or the sessions that you've done, where some of those heads have turned into something in the end.
Yeah.
And it's all because of like fans being like, hey, what if you do this? What if you do this? And we're like, all right, let me do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even when we start with the two fantastic exclusive votes within Mythic, those were even approached differently than the votes that we did in the original fantastic exclusive properties. And so like it's about like all these different ways of interacting, like seeing what people get the most out of. And like an Intern for a Day just in general is part of that. I mean, it's a little bit more of a closed or it's kind of exclusive group every year, but
sure.
But it's certainly, I mean, even the lottery part of it, it's just like it's fun. Like it's it's something that I think people who aren't even going into the lottery, it's fun to see people getting excited about it and like them reporting back and everything. So
I mean, one of the things that made me so happy was when I emailed the people who had got chosen in the lottery for Intern for a Day because I had posted in the Cabal, hey, check your emails. So I want to give people a heads up that those have gone out there. And there were so many people that hadn't been selected, but that had been to previous interns. And they applied again because you can apply multiple years for sure. But they were so congratulatory of the winners. And they were like, congratulations, you are going to have such a good time. For me, that's one of the coolest things every year when people, they pay for the privilege to come here and spend the day with us. And I say privilege, kind of jokingly, because we love to invite them all here, but we close the studio for the entire day to welcome all these guests. The fact that people come year after year and have such a good time, that I think is super cool.
Yeah. I mean, that whole weekend is the absolute
whirlwind.
best.
It's a crazy week.
It is it's crazy, but it's, I mean, just like you don't want to miss a minute of it though. Like it's hard to go up to bed and the hotel at night and leave
We were up.
Sometimes you
until,
don't.
sometimes you don't.
We were up
Sometimes
till
you
like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning on Saturday night,
Well, that's
Every night.
or
Yeah.
Sunday morning technically.
for me, that's the second year in a row. I was like, one of the last ones down there. So it was it's you just
is there.
I slept 2 hours and
I-
went to the table.
I do want to just point out this comment because Rob asked Eric, who is the employee of the month at the Four Horsemen headquarters this month? But you don't have to answer that because Len jumped in and he said, Rob Z, the answer is Cookie every month.
I mean, it's his birthday every day. He's employee of the month every month.
I mean, he's.
I will have to say, like, the past period of time, I don't even know what to put the parameters on it, but the shipping department is killing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unbelievable.
it's like it's just so impressive. Like
Especially Wednesdays.
Well, I will.
Wednesdays are unreal.
The butter rolls on Wednesdays.
Well,
It starts off with buttered rolls and just ends with success.
Well, so I came in this morning and I haven't been. So the last time I was here was Zoocon. So that was the end of February. And the warehouse team, the shipping team was much smaller at the end of February than it is today.
It's growing.
Funny story. All these people came in today, and I'm sitting there and I'm talking to Cookie this morning, right? And I'm talking to Greg, and these people are walking in, and I'm thinking they all work at BB Props. And they're all walking in, your buddy with the cowboy boots, he walks in and stuff. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're.
Stealthy Adam.
I'm like, oh, there's a lot of new faces from BB Props. And then I go to see Cookie in the room after. They're all in there. They're all in there shipping. And I'm like, wow, the warehouse team is like 3 times as large
Well,
as it was last time I was here.
it was funny because when you and I were sitting there talking earlier, and I was asking you, I was like, is there candy out on the table? So like I'm Jeremy's back is to like the center part of the studio, and I'm talking to him, and there's a window in there, and the door was open, so you can kind of see people filtering in, and like seeing everybody's coming over from the shipping room, and at one point there's group several guys out there. I'm like, wow, that's the team's like really, it's getting big, and then like BK walks in, and then like Adam walks in, and then I think Cookie was the last one out, and it's like God, but they just like one after the other, they just keep coming. It's like how did this happen?
A lot of them are my friends.
Imported.
I've imported a lot of people.
Well, I mean, I remember a few weeks ago, well over a month ago now, looking at the schedule for the year and going over it with George, and he told Cookie, he's like, yeah, we need more help back there. We're going to need more help back there all year. Like there's because that was always one of the, the things with the studio, specifically with shipping, is there were these like intense bursts of shipping. Now it's just one sustained burst. It's just there. It's not a burst. It's just a sustained vibe.
Call it vibe.
No, yeah, they're even in the last year, yeah.
The sustained burst.
Oh man, this is Van's gonna be enjoying this.
Jeremy does it again.
I woke up really early this morning to be here, so I'm also a little like feeling tired, drunk. There's a lot of emotions. I feel like I'm looking at is my face really red?
Yes.
I'm looking at myself in the camera and I'm like,
You look super red.
I
in the
know.
camera.
Yeah, you look very,
It's very red on film.
more red on
Yeah,
More
yeah,
than
yeah.
in real life.
okay, so I'm not this. Those watching
Your
at home,
burst of red.
I'm not.
Sustained burst of red.
Sustained bursts of red.
Like right now. There's one.
Okay, we're almost done.
What, any more starred questions there, Jeremy?
I got all the starred questions done. I got all the starred questions.
But yeah, even in the last year, there were times last year that we had a struggle to like make sure there was enough work for Cookie to do during some periods.
Yeah.
Yep.
This year, I'm bringing, we're like, we need help. I'm like, well, I got this friend who needs a job.
Oh, Diego's old compadre.
Have you ever heard that joke that I have with Cookie?
No.
There was a point when Cookie was first starting that I was talking to him and he was like, I love the job, but I'm really worried. And I'm like, about what? And he's like, they're not gonna have enough work for me. They're gonna run out of shipping and stuff. And I want to come in every day and work, but I'm worried that there's not going to be enough to do. So whenever we have crazy shipping campaigns, I'm like, hey, Cookie, remember that time that you were worried? And he looks at me, he's like, that was a very different Cookie.
That was a very different cookie.
Very different Cookie.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Cookie and I like just vibe on like a perfect level. Like, we work really well, like in tandem with getting stuff done. And he's a valuable asset.
Well, I feel like it was even maybe like a month, 2 months ago where, we were still kind of like, how are we going to get this stuff done? Like it just was looking daunting what was upcoming. And then, seeing where everybody's at on this mystery box sale, like it's all of a sudden, well, actually it was with the last stuff leading into this. I feel like it's just things have just ramped up. Like what?
I see that, Len.
I can't see what it says.
Diego's saying a lot of nice things about Cookie, so Len's telling him to back off. He's clearly
He's jealous.
there's some jealousy in the chat tonight.
It's always a
What just happened there? Oh, okay. Things got a little weird there. Everything went black for a moment, but we're back. Just a quick recap. The mystery box sale that is still going on. We did have a specific amount of boxes to sell. So once they're sold, that's when the sale will end. If you haven't picked them up yet, or if you got some and the stuff was so awesome that you want more, they're all still available. If you got some and you didn't pull what you want and you want to take another shot at it, it is a lottery. It is randomized. You might get something you want better next time. They are available. Besides that, we covered pretty much in depth about All Stars, that we are taking a break at this time from what has been the traditional All Star voting and reissues to make room for some other cool ideas that we have. It does open up a lot of possibilities for things like version 2s, for other ways to engage the fan vote and stuff. So that's exciting. With it being the anniversary year, trying these new things, it is definitely a year. You mentioned earlier not wanting to be predictable, and that's something, keeping people guessing, keeping people excited because there's new things that are happening, things that there's no precedent for, like mystery boxes. That keeps it exciting, I think, not only for the fans but for us as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're 10 years in. It's not only do does the product need to continue to be exciting, but the engagement needs to be as well. So
Yeah.
For sure.
So with that, we got a couple more minutes. If you have any additional questions that you want to ask and your name is not Curtis, you can feel free to ask in the chat now.
Make them count.
Make them count because we're going to try to get through a couple of them. Cloud saying never dull with Legions. That's definitely the goal.
Yeah.
We want to keep you guys. I love the idea of there being always something to talk about. Could Ravina get a version 2? Vorgus did.
Sure.
Test shot sale coming soon. We haven't had one in a while, so who knows? We'll have to see. Oh, thank you very much, Nate Strong. We love you as well. Are there more cosmics coming? Yeah, we definitely have some cosmic plans for this year.
It's like jumping all over the place.
I know. Go back and see if we missed any. So will we be opening up G-Con on Friday for non-interns if there is room? That is absolutely the plan. So we will be back at the hotel where we did the Rising Suns G-Con. It was a very large room that we actually didn't have filled to capacity. I mean, it was a ton of people, more than we've ever done G-Con to, but there were some seats in the back. So that is the plan. Obviously, there's a capacity. Interns will get in first, as well as invited guests. But if you're going to be in the area on Friday, certainly we hope to see you there.
For sure.
Somebody asked when the quilt's going to come out.
Intern lunch is Jersey pizza. Yes, that is the plan every year.
I have the order.
We have the
Saved.
order.
I pick it up and place it.
People asking if there's going to be a white knight figure. We talked earlier. I mean, we've got the white ogre knight, Sir Uxak.
Yeah.
He's our own white knight.
Ignatius.
Ignatius is another pearlescent tonight.
Gadriel.
Yeah.
That's not to say we couldn't do another one, but
With no power.
What would the Ox Crew ship look like if we were compared to something? Well, we actually posted renders of the Ox Crew ship. If you look on the website in the blog for the Tales of Cosmarium, basically, there's a bunch of kind of like ship logs that we did during the Ox Crew drop. And the first one has a render of the ship. When we did, if you look actually at the reveal video, we showed that fully colored at the start, and then we showed the diorama of the crashed ship. So we don't really have to compare it to something. We've shown a number of images of it. You can check that out if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if that's like a size question or not.
Yeah, you had mentioned before one of those older things that like the back of those containers. So
Right. There's like, I mean, they're
big.
They're big. It's like, what is it? I can't remember if it's 8 or 16 containers on the back of it. I would say it's probably about 20 feet tall, like the cab part of it.
Is Outpost Zaxius on the water? I actually don't know, but if it's not, it's going there any day now. It's at that point where it's done. Production is finished. It's gone over to the port to ship out to us. There's always this weird period of time where because I'm not directly in contact with the factory, and because Chris is over there right now, whether or not it's on the water or it's about to go on the water, I'm not sure, but very, very soon. We had posted that and mentioned it previously, but as soon as we know more about when that's going to arrive and when pre-orders will start shipping, we'll clearly make those announcements. But it is coming soon, for sure. Will there be any re-releases at the upcoming shows? We're not going to, the next couple shows, no. So I can tell you just to set expectations, we didn't send any to Kane County or to Sacramento or for Lehigh Valley. As we always do, because we're still in the middle of shipping a campaign, this is a little bit different because it's not a pre-order. We wanted to be on the other side of the mystery box campaign before any of those remaining reissues could go to shows. I will say that when they do start going to shows, they won't all be at shows and they will be in limited numbers. The runs were very small. We took a good percentage of those runs for these mystery boxes. So, even those 14 reissue figures, you're not going to come into a show and see all 14 of those on the table.
With no power count, does that mean no Motu tributes?
No Motu.
No Motu.
I think we're almost done, Eric. There we got it. Oh, we'll end with this one. Most anticipated figure from the Outpost Zaxius wave. So since we just talked about that wave shipping, my most anticipated figure from that is actually the Tusk Pilot.
Callian.
Oh,
For
Cal,
me.
yep.
Scourge I like a lot too, but that I already have one.
already
So Callian.
Callian. Greg, Outpost Zaxius wave.
The white bug.
Okay, the
yeah.
Sphexian Minor.
Sphexian Minor.
Diego?
Callian.
Callian for Diego.
I kind of like the Sphexian Minor as well.
Sphexian Minor. So we've got a tie between Callian and Sphexian Minor. I'm going to change my vote to break the tie, and I'm going to go with Callian.
Good move, Joe. Good move. I tell you, Chris hasn't been around for a while. I haven't gotten a good ass kissing.
I think I just pulled my back out from laughing. And with that, we're going to say goodnight. We're going to call it an evening. I will be back, not here, but back on Mythic Conversations next Wednesday night with a brand new conversation. Thank you to Eric, Bill, Diego, Greg, everyone who's here, everyone who's tuning in. We'll see you next week. And thank you for all the support of those mystery boxes. Keep that positivity coming and sharing those hauls in the Cabal and online.
Bye.
Bye.